Hey everybody, welcome back. It is the Fantasy Rugby Yanks. My name's Jared Dyke.
I'm Ben Glasser.
And he's here, the man, the myth, the legend, James Herrick. Welcome back, buddy.
Yay!
It's the Japanese I learned while I was in Japan.
Yeah, about all of it.
And arigato gozaimasu. And
what?
beer is biru.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. That's funny. Well, we'll have to hear about your exploits in a minute here. Let's get these beers open, and my fault that we don't have enough for everybody, so we'll have to split.
It's
Thank God these are tall boys at least.
And sharing is caring.
Yeah.
Sharing is caring.
It's unfortunate that, like in Japan, and this is I'll probably go into a few of these stories, but on every other block there is a convenience store where you can buy beer and lots of it, and it really would make sense if they had that in Boston, but those Puritan laws really got us.
Damn. Everybody make sure you check us out on Apple Podcasts. I got the right name this time. Spotify and Google Play. So, Ben, how handy was it to have our upgrades for the Prem this weekend?
It was extremely handy for setting the lineup.
Yeah, exactly.
Not extremely handy based on who was playing, but nothing we can do about that. Everyone is good is in Japan, so it's kind of catch as catch can. But being able to go through and see who. Who's starting?
Oh
who's on the
no, I
reserves.
have made a terrible choice in this person because they're not even on the bench.
Right. Yeah, it was extremely helpful to avoid that.
Yeah, no kidding. So everybody make sure that you're looking at your Rugby Mag upgrades for that reason alone. It is 1,000,000% worth it, but then you get all the stats and all the numbers that come through. Those guys are doing an awesome job, so make sure you give them your support and sign that up. All right, we got a lot to get through, but before we do, curious case of Thomas Ramos. I don't know if anybody got wind of this, but he got sent home because he was too injured to finish the World Cup.
I heard about this.
But then he played for his club not once but twice.
Well, there's a lot of turmoil, or there was, I should say, in the French camp.
Supposedly.
The issue between the head coach and the assistant coach. I forget their names.
Yeah,
French.
Well, Brunel was one of them.
Yeah, Jacques Brunel's one, and the assistant guy who's supposed to be taking over after him.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, the Toulon owner,
Bougelau.
came out and said that the players should revolt. So I think Thomas Ramos was a result of he was the scapegoat there. But listening to a lot of those guys before this French rugby match, before they went off and went to play Wales, because the French are always at their scariest is when they're backed into a corner like a wounded animal.
I believe that.
And I don't know if we're going to want to go into this quite yet, but they certainly showed it this weekend.
Yeah, we'll get there in just a second. Let's try and be orderly here.
Yeah, I'm going to take your lead, Shrek. So just I get excited. I'm sorry.
That's
It's easy to get out ahead of him.
yeah. I am slow after all.
I start talking about stuff sometimes. He's like, wait, it's not. We're not there yet.
Well,
fuck you. I'm doing it. Anyway.
That's fine. We're gonna double back to it, so you're gonna say the same thing twice essentially. So yeah, that was just one note that I had seen. But other than that, yeah, let's get to the games. First up, England and Australia. Thoughts, boys?
It was as expected. The result definitely. Eddie Jones is now 7-0 lifetime against Michael Cheika's men. Unfortunate to see some true legends of the game go out like that. There's a lot of controversy going on, but I think I'll just start with just England played, incredibly well. Johnny May can always find the line, and that try that Kyle Sinclair had was just incredible. Him picking that line was just it was wild. This is a guy that came from part of London called Tooting, which is a very awful name, but it's also a bit of a dangerous part of London. And he rolled up to his first ever rugby practice for the Battersea Ironsides, which is just over the river, south of the river from Chelsea, in a full Man United kit, because he really had no idea what he was doing. And look at the guy now. So, England
long way away from that.
England were dominant. I knew that Eddie Jones was going to drop forward. I knew. You
had to have a feeling.
It wasn't because he played great, but he was playing against these sort of second tier teams.
Yeah, he's not if you want to put out England's best lineup, Farrell's at 10 and Ford's the reserve. And I like the way he did that. That was something that Jared and I had been talking about as far as what's the decision there? Which way is he going to go? I think he made the right call there because Farrell's just a better distributor. And I like the thought behind Ford at 10. It's like having your inside center at 10 and your distributor, your 10 at 12 when you have Faz there. But kind of to play, especially these higher level teams, you kind of need a more traditional distribution system. So it made more sense for Farrell to start at 10. And then when they did end up bringing Ford on, he had some runs. He had some good
game management. He's I think he's a ball from hand kicking. He can put him in great places. On the reverse side with the Australians, there was a lot of controversy going into it because you started the 19-year-old Jordan Pataya, who played okay. They've been chopping and changing all World Cup, especially at 10. So they went back to Leilufano, who I think was the number one choice 10 at the beginning of the World Cup. You guys have an issue with Curtly Beale because why? He was injured beforehand because of that head knock, or he just...
No, I just don't think he's an international level 15.
He's done?
I don't think he's fast enough. And I'm surprised, actually. I thought Farrell was going to move him all over the field.
Not quite to that. And
he really didn't. I thought he was going to just boot the ball, make Beal run back and forth. He didn't quite do that.
Well, they made Curtly Beale throw that awful pass. Yeah. That had hang time.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that they would have been better served with Beal at 12 instead of Karevi. And
or bump Karevi out.
Or that. But I thought Pataya played really well. So it's hard to knock the kid. I thought I thought that as kind of controversial a choice as it was, I thought it worked out pretty well. It couldn't have, at least it could have worked out a lot worse.
It definitely could. Manitou Alangi could have had himself a hell of a day, and he was pretty balled up by the two of them.
He was, and that was impressive. And,
that was. I thought he was going to have a day.
I woke up for the second half and watched it on my phone through an illegal Reddit stream, which was great, and with my AirPods in. But at the end of that, you knew Michael Chaka was going to step down. There's been a lot of controversy around him. I generally hearing from seeing a lot of the tweets from former players like Matt Giddo, Drew Mitchell. They support the guy. I mean, he got him to a World Cup final. And
hard to knock it.
Not a lot of coaches can do that. So he's I think it was unfair for someone like Ugo Manya came out and was saying that Cheka made it all about himself this game by the selections he made. I don't know.
I have my issues with Ugo here.
Ugo makes a lot of things about Ugo, so he's one to talk.
He hasn't got anything else to do except media these days.
Right. Yeah.
But I think Michael Chaka, he's a former player, so he's going to come out and he's going to be fiery and he's going to say what he wants to say, So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up going if he continues to coach professionally or if he takes a break. I think he's done with
international level
and just Rugby Australia, or whatever.
I can't say I blame him for that. Yeah,
I think he's had enough.
I could see him coming to Europe or something, and coaching at that level just to kind of get back to.
And he has
Leinster.
before.
Yeah, Coach Leinster.
Coached Stade Francais.
Right, and he's done well at both clubs, so he's got the pedigree in terms of that for sure. So I'm sure if he decides to make himself available, he'll be a very sought after person. Let's talk a little bit about the points there, Ben. Your boy Sinclair obviously leading some high-end scores there with 42. So you on his try, Ben and I texted each other, and we knew exactly who we were talking about, and I bet you James can guess the same exact person. So when Leilufano missed that assignment on Sinclair, there's one person that you, myself, and Ben know that would absolutely be rip shit if that happened on our team. Who is it?
Does it? You can't really rhyme his name with anything. Probably a Craig McKenzie.
Yeah, it would rhyme with that very much. So.
It rhymes very much with that, and it's not a knock on the guy. We just know how he is. That's the thing. He's intense, and I love him for being as intense as he is. But it was just hilarious that Ben and I were on the same exact wavelength. Like, there's one person I can think of that would absolutely destroy Leilufano for that defense.
It's more the lack of effort, and then I'm just getting the fuck out of the way thing.
Be a speed bump at least. Come on, man.
Because once he made it through that hole, there was he knew it. The big smile on his face when he was in open field. I mean, that's not just because props normally get that look on their face when they break the line, but this was no, I'm scoring. This is like they're not stopping me.
He was way too close to get stopped.
No, I don't know if that. I'm guessing it was Beal back there, but I didn't catch the number of the trailer back there. But there's no stopping him at that point.
You weren't getting. Yeah, you were not.
That's why if Leo Leofano had just like you said been a speed bump, perhaps. That could have been a tackle.
A little better.
But the fact that it was just
Oops.
full pace, as full a pace as you're going to get at that size.
Going to get to, yeah. I agree.
There's no stopping you there.
No. So that was good. It's funny. I kept putting him on my sit list, and he kept shutting me up. Michael Hooper scored well in every fucking game he played in, just about. 30 points this one.
Tackles he makes.
Yeah, he makes so many damn tackles, and that's the thing that gets it.
Because his face shows it.
Yeah. Always.
He looks like Frankenstein.
He's like he looks like a pirate.
Australian Frankenstein.
Yeah. Corbetti obviously had a nice match. Broke the line. He gave them a shot when he got that one over the line.
And then they had the one that was a forward pass that they called back.
Yeah.
Ben Skeen. Oh, that pass is fine.
Right.
I was like, are we sure about that?
No, and Jerome Garces was like,
of all people, if Jerome Garces is telling you that, there's a problem here, dude. Come on.
I know. I could not believe he said that. He is just.
I want to know if there was some sort of like prop bet where Skeen would get involved in a play as a TMO, and still Garces would overrule him and be right. That would be like.
That'd be like 1,000 to 1.
Right. You could that's a year mortgage.
Yeah, right. That's a house right there,
right.
Man. Holy shit.
But just to look ahead, that's not the only ref controversy that's been swirling around.
Nope. We got a couple more. We got a couple more.
Yeah, we'll get to them.
We'll get to that one. Oh my goodness. England take care of Australia. They move on to the semifinal, and they await the winner of New Zealand Ireland, who. Man, this match deserved to be a little bit better than it was.
Well,
and I feel like it was just percentage, just little tiny percentages that Ireland were off, and that's all it takes for the All Blacks because they're so ruthless.
It was really who scored the first try that was going to control the match, because when Ireland score and they can just go into their shell and just choke the life out of you, that's an entirely different game than when New Zealand put up 10 points in the first 10 minutes or so, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And then now Ireland's got to somehow get on the front foot and play a wide open game, and that's just not their game.
Right.
And
yeah,
that was it was won and lost in the first however many minutes. I don't know when the first try was scored. Let me see.
It was 20-something minutes.
13th minute when Aaron Smith scored.
They're going in without their token Islander. Bundyaki was, I think, a huge loss because that red card that he got. But I think, the signs were there in the warm-ups to the World Cup when they lost to England by that much. Mm-hmm. Something was off.
Right.
And a lot of people think that they maybe peaked a year too early.
Seems to be a habit of theirs.
And it's unfortunate because, you had Chicago, you had winning the Grand Slam, and you had
the Dublin win last year.
And then they went down to Australia for a tour and won there as well. Mm-hmm. Beat South Africa as well. There are all these positives to take away from, but, the question remains is like, did they peak too early? Is Johnny Sexton, is he done? I don't know. I mean, he still played all right. But, there's definitely not a better replacement for him, in that situation. I don't think Carberry or the other guy could have,
Cardi.
Yeah, Cardi could have done it. But it was just, typical New Zealand. And I think going into that, especially after Ireland, Japan, you knew that New Zealand was going to take over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Carberry he looked really rusty because he just played so little. And it was just so tough for him to get going, get that speed back. And it's just something you can't really learn until you've been in the trenches again. So he definitely looked like he was having a tough go. I mean, just look back at the one play that he made against Japan where he kicked the ball dead, where he said he meant to, and I'm just like, did you really mean to? Because your decision-making must have been a little bit off. So, yeah, there's that for him.
But, there was, what's his face? Stockdale at one point, I think he was trying to go for an intercept at the beginning of the game, and that could have definitely changed the tides. But I still think this was all for New Zealand to have. It was in the stars. Mwanga played pretty well. The Barretts played well.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Smith was fucking amazing.
Yep,
as he always is.
One of the best nines in the universe. Yep,
right.
He's and 2 tries, incredible. And then to have someone like TJ Perenara, who's your backup,
right.
who isn't a backup at all.
No, he could start on 99% of teams out there.
So these guys are stacked, which makes it one hell of a. It's going to be one hell of a game on Saturday.
Agreed.
Which I'm very scared about, but somewhat cautiously optimistic from an England perspective.
Yep. Yeah, we'll get there. So that was good stuff. I said a lock. I just didn't say the right. I pronounced it wrong. I said Retallick, but what I really meant was Sam Whitelock for my start of the week.
Sam Whitelock, the lock.
30, yeah.
Retallick, he was there, but
he was
Whitelock had himself a fantasy day.
Again, Retallick is still trying. I think I blindly just picked this thinking lock Brody Retallick. Why not? He's also still trying to get himself back into shape. So that was a poor decision on my part.
Well, hell, I was the one I think at the beginning of the tournament that was saying kind of. Sit on Reed for a little bit. Now I'm kind of all in on him.
He's played his balls off. This is his last go around, so
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
When you're on the world stage like this, you're gonna see it. It was great to see at the end of the game. Rory Best got an incredible ovation from the crowd there,
as he should have.
The one thing I'll say, my second night in Tokyo was the night before Ireland, Scotland. So the Irish were out in full force. So I found myself in this part of Tokyo called Golden Gai, which is a tiny, little small 3-block radius, maybe, of these 6-seater bars. Some of them, they like Westerners, others not so much. No gaijin. And I ended up in this bar with my brother, my dad, my friend, and then it was just all these Irish fans who were just singing just incredibly loud and just incredibly drunk. But They travel.
Keep peddling that stereotype,
in
boys.
Packs. I know they travel in packs, and it was pretty awesome to see.
I have no doubt.
But anyway, cool to see the Irish and the New Zealand fans applauding Rory Best as well as Kieran Reid. I think in his post-match interview, right on the pitch, he said, he gave a shout out to Best. And that's what rugby's all about.
Right.
Is these guys have been playing each other for years, and they recognize legends, and clearly Rory Best is an absolute legend.
I was a poopy pants about one thing in this game.
Yeah.
And that was that they pulled off Rory Best and Johnny Sexton at the same time. And I thought that they kind of deserved their own individual goodbyes. Especially you don't want to overshadow either one. I didn't even they pulled Bestie off and there was a huge to-do about it. And then right afterwards, and Sexton came off too. And that's not fair to Sexton because I'm guessing this is his last World Cup.
Definitely his last World Cup, but not his last game in an Ireland jersey.
So it's a different goodbye, but at the same time, I thought Sexton deserved a farewell, a World Cup farewell.
Yeah.
On his own.
Raise your hand if you didn't shed a tear when Rory Best was doing his interview.
Oh, I definitely did.
Yeah, I couldn't help it. Couldn't help it.
I mean, he's got that face, even though he kind of looks like a potato. He's got that sweet
face.
That
lovable face.
Yeah.
A face only a mother could love, but still lovable.
Yeah, I read or I think I saw something because James Haskell and Mike Tyndall and the English contingent have headed over there. Mr. Bantersaurus Rex himself, and he said, there's a funny quote that he was saying that on the Lions tour. He's playing a drinking game with Rory Best, and it just ended up turning into neck a pint. Rory Best telling him to neck a pint. And that was the game.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, so hats off to Rory Best. Obviously, it's an incredible career for any player, and he's done the game in Ireland obviously a lot of good. Ulster fans should be very proud about what they have there, and I definitely tip my cap to the man that has led Ireland to such good success.
37 years old.
He is a warrior to be still playing at that level at that age. Yeah. So tip of the cap to him. All Blacks move on from this match 46-14, and they face England next weekend. It's going to be a freaking goddamn good one. So we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, And then the Sunday games, the first one. Oh boy, who unclenched the butt cheeks after like 10 minutes after the final whistle after this one? Because it was neck and neck the whole time. It was just super intense too. That was the thing.
The Welsh players coming off the pitch did not look like they just won a quarterfinal. Kidding. They looked like they just survived it, and we're like,
they did.
We're moving on.
They survived the quarterfinal. They didn't. And the French scoring those tries with the first 2 tries in like what? It was the first 7 minutes.
Something to that effect, yeah.
You know, and
pretty quick.
And again, like I said, back in the French like a wounded dog. Mm-hmm. You know, being backed into a corner, they're going to come out and they're going to fight.
4 minutes and 7 minutes with their 2 tries.
There you go. And I wanted the French to win, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I just hate Wales. But you know, and there's been, but credit to Wales in the sense that, you know, they're going with Dan Biggers. There was technically their second choice fly half.
There's worse people you can
go
with as a second choice.
But you know, Dan Biggers had 2 knocks to his heads this World Cup.
Yeah,
you know,
he's been playing for both
games.
That
was a tough choice. I was surprised by that choice.
Yeah, you put Reece Patchell in at 10. He's not winning a knockout game.
He served well in the Australia game. You got to give him that.
Certainly did. But you know, and then of course Wales loses Josh Navidi to injury.
And he's off. He's
the rest
done.
of the World Cup too.
He's done. It's a hamstring thing. And so it would have been good to see him because he's a great, he's a good old Kiwi product that's Welsh.
And he is a unit on top of all that.
But I mean, to be honest though, with the French, right? So 4 years from now, hopefully we'll all, the 3 of us will all be in France for this World Cup. For that World Cup,
Allez,
allez bleu. I think the plan is, this is good for France. I don't think they were expecting to get this far, really. I mean, maybe they had high hopes, but like they weren't.
Expectations were somewhat there,
right? Yeah. But not to be this level of they had this game. I mean, so we talk about it that every tournament France rocks up with one performance. So, like you said, James, they're at their best and their backs to the wall, and they still hadn't had their French performance, and this was it. And it's
just came up short.
It's unfortunate that one player had to go and fucking ruin it for them.
Yeah. I'll comment on that in a second. And that was the one game. Well, I didn't see that game. I saw France-Argentina live in Tokyo at the Tokyo Stadium, and that was pretty. They played pretty cool.
Played pretty damn well in that game too.
And that was a great game because it was Argentinian physical rugby and then expansive French rugby.
And they scored very open flare rugby as they do.
And the drop goal as well, which we haven't seen too many since that, really.
Nope.
Lopez tried again, but
they've tried a bunch now. Yeah.
We'll see some this weekend. So it was pretty cool, and the French were really up for it. The French fans were there, and I went there with a beret in hand, supporting the French because I've been to France a lot, and one time in middle school, we went there, and it was great because you could they'd let us buy firecrackers and porn.
Oh yeah, you mentioned this before. Yeah, that's right. You mentioned.
Thank you, France. For that and alcohol at 14 years old. So I love France. But really, it was the Argentinian fans that were way more into it and really, really nice and welcoming. So nice. I kind of switched allegiance. But the gaucho men of Argentina, the guys that are the cattle cowboys of Argentina, they wear berets too. So it was okay. But yeah, that elbow by Vahmina, the man from New Caledonia, that was horseshit. There's no place in rugby.
What were you doing? And he looked over ooh, did anybody see me? There's 3 sets of eyes on you, and there's a fuckload of cameras on you. Somebody saw it. Yeah. I hate to tell you. As soon as the TMO buzzed down, I was like, "You're done."
The announcer said it. During the play, he's like, "Oh, there was an elbow in there from a French player."
That's what I thought too. Yeah.
And I was like,
Wainwright was getting choked first. That was the first thing I saw, and I was like, somebody gonna do something about this?" And then the elbow came. I was like, "Oh, you're done. You are so done."
And he's just announced today that he's gonna retire from the French national team, which I think it's a little excessive. In my mind, I think if he wants to.
Just walk away.
I don't know. I think if he wants to sort of redeem himself.
I thought he had said that the decision had been made before the World Cup.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't based on that. It was just that he was done.
No, he's done two things that everybody will remember him forever.
Against Wales.
Against Wales both times. A garbage pass that George North intercepted to win the game, and then that, which pretty much cost them the game. So, sorry, Bob Mahina. Bye-bye.
The 14 that stayed on after that just played their balls off.
They did.
I mean, you outside of the scrums, you could not tell that there were only 14 on the field for France, the way they were playing and the intensity that they brought. But the scrum was what killed them.
Well, but for me, the final, I don't know if it was the final nail in the coffin, but one that certainly started to slam the lid shut was the kick from Madar, and they kept kicking back and forth, and I thought it was a good tactic, but I was like, they can't screw any of these up. Sure enough, Madar kicks one out the back, and the scrum way the fuck up midfield. I was like, that's not going to end well now.
And especially not with the scrums. Like, you can't take a scrum. Like, that's it. Like, even by that point, we knew.
Yeah, they were
because they had a couple scrums, offensive and defense. The offensive ones, the ball was just shooting out, and they couldn't do anything with it. And because they weren't putting really an 8 in there.
No.
And then the defensive ones, Wales were just blowing them off the ball.
Right.
So it's like, well, and that's how they ended up winning. But, damn, like that. Yeah, you can't take a scrum. So whatever you do, like even if you kick it directly to touch,
costs, man.
fine. That's such a better result than kicking it out the back.
Yep.
Well, one, Maxime Medard, it's crazy that he's still around. And
yes.
mutton chops are still around.
Yes.
Like
You'll never miss those, that's for sure.
Like consistently had mutton chops for like almost 10 years, I think. So that's absurd. Second is the picture of Jaco Piper with the Welsh fans reenacting that elbow, which I think it's all fun and game. Personally, probably not the best move by him.
PR-wise, no.
Probably after a couple beers.
Definitely after a couple of beers, maybe a shot or two as well.
But like, I don't think there needs to be an investigation into it.
No, it's just
no. It's not a good look, but that doesn't. We don't need to go to that level.
It's not in the best taste, but it's not wrong. It's one of those like you probably just shouldn't have done that.
That's true. That is true.
And let's not forget, he wasn't the one who called the red card. It was the TMO buzzing down saying, you got to look at that. Like he was I'm not saying he was fine with it, but he didn't see it.
He didn't see it.
So it's not as though he's like, look, I called a red card on France. No. That's why
somebody
I'm like,
got my attention so I could present this red card for them.
There's nothing for him to do. His hands were tied. So if he's it's not the best look. Because it is, it just kind of shows a little bit of bias, but not really. It's just
and the game's over,
right?
Yep.
It's
and I'm guessing his World Cup is over at that point. Maybe not as least as the
with South Africa still in it, it's gonna be tough to say.
He won't play any part in any South African game,
right?
So we'll see.
And I don't know if they've announced the refs for the two semifinals. I'm sure
not quite
Nigel
yet.
Owens will get the nod. And maybe,
in one of them, for sure.
Wayne Barnes, maybe.
That's what I would think, that Nigel would get the England, New Zealand, and Barnes, you would get Wales, South Africa.
Rumors is going to be a French ref for the final, which just doesn't sound good at all.
They can't.
How to destroy a final? How to destroy a final? Oh God, we'll see. Maybe Gus Gardner. I'd take him.
Yeah, Gus Gardner's fantastic.
I'd take him all day.
He's great.
So two more notes and then we'll move on. Wainwright, I thought, was a bit of a suspect selection.
Yes,
Shut me right the fuck up. Good for him. Good on you, dude. And we can't ignore the impact on this game that Virimi Vakatawa had. He was almost impossible to tackle for the Welsh. So good on him. Who was your star of the week? I forgot.
Oh, you know what? I actually wrote it down.
Was it Morrow?
I think so.
Okay. So that's not.
I had Itoje, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Who was my sit?
Genia.
Oh, well, that worked.
Yeah.
That was right.
Bestie was mine. He still got 27.
How about that? Wrote that right in your face. Anyway, so there was some good point stuff for this. We'll obviously talk about the Welsh when we do start sit. Welsh move on 20-19 in a squeaky bum time match.
Yes.
Big time.
Squeakiest of bums.
Squeakiest of bums. And they will face the Springboks, who broke the world's hearts and beat Japan. and you couldn't help but cheer for Japan if you weren't.
Yeah. They were just so. I mean, as much as I've been talking, like, you hear the announcers say, "Oh, Japan are small. Japan are small." To me, that's old hat. Japan they're fairly sizable as a team.
I'm not getting in the way of Amanaki Mafi or Himeno.
Not in this game though.
Well, I mean, God, compare them to the freaking locks that
right. It's not fair.
The Springboks walk out, plus Dwayne Vermeulen on top of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good luck.
And Dutoit,
Dutoit's not small either.
They're just so.
Yeah.
They just like they were like. I mean, that one where they dragged. I don't remember who was it. Matsushima into touch.
I think so.
It just like, oh, by the way, we're gonna now tackle you with 3 people. Oh, we're just gonna lift you up and we'll put you down in touch. Like,
it's just not.
It's not fair.
It's really not fair.
I mean, that would have happened to anybody. It's not just Japan that would happen to, but damn, they were outmuscled in every respect. Unfortunately,
tough to outstrength Etzebeth, Diager, Sneeman, and Mostert.
Yeah, it's definitely sad to see that Japanese team who just dominated Scotland and in Ireland and put on these incredible performances and certainly have brought up the question of whether they should be known as a tier 2 team anymore.
I don't think so.
Oh, I think it's no question about that.
I think that should be put to bed and it should be a tier 1 team. If Italy's a tier 1 team, they should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also saw today, and it's, again, rumors and conjectures.
Rumor.
That they might reverse the decision to knock the Sunwolves out of
when 60 million people tune in to watch Japan play rugby, no shit.
And they're like,
just shows again Sanzar is just a terrible organization and a bunch of morons. And getting rid of Western Force, that was stupid as well.
That wasn't the best decision.
So completely isolate Western Australia from that rugby, which was shit. So
not good.
I don't know.
Bad decisions left and right.
Going back to positives.
We know Sanzar's stupid. Let's move on from that.
I found it difficult to tell when Michael Leach got the ball. Did you?
I don't know, man.
The whole crowd. Every time he touches the ball, Leach. All right, I guess I know who's got it.
Yeah, he was everywhere in Tokyo, like in the subways, on the buildings.
Everybody's painting the beards on themselves.
He was.
I like that.
It was cool, but then also it was funny because like there was Adidas stuff, so there'd be all this All Black stuff. Asics or Asics or whatever you want to call it.
Whatever it is.
You'd see the Springboks and you'd see the Australians.
Right.
And so those were the 4 rugby teams that you kind of saw just because of, the brands that they're associated with. But Tokyo certainly was pretty rugby mad. And I'm sure all the other cities that had rugby in it, I went down to Osaka. And it was somewhat rugby mad, but not as much as Tokyo. Where
Tokyo was going crazy.
There was a lot. You could tell there's way more Westerners on the street than usual because we were walking and eating and drinking, and people from Japan do not eat or drink while they walk. It's a big no-no. You kind of go, you sit down, you have your meal, and then you get about your day.
Good to know.
And another telltale sign was there were no trash cans anywhere. And I was having a beer every time I saw a convenience store, and there was nowhere to put my trash.
Hang on to that shit, man.
Which is odd because
the city's so incredibly clean, the country's so incredibly clean. Everybody takes their trash home with them and disposes it there.
Lessons to take.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
Goodness.
Ultimately, though, the difference between the two teams, I mean, the scoreline, I think, doesn't really tell it.
It's not fair.
26-3.
No, it doesn't tell at all.
The possession was 54-46 in favor of Japan. The territory was 50-50. These were 2 fairly evenly matched teams. And the difference again was the bully power that South Africa brought.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm glad to say ultimately is that the 4 teams that moved on that are going to be in the semis are clearly the best 4 teams in the world.
Yeah,
I'd say so. Yeah,
and
hard to argue otherwise.
And I would say of the 4 other losing teams in the quarterfinals, I thought that France and Japan were the 2 that were clearly that next level. And the scoreline kind of reflects that. But again, Japan played out of their minds. And
totally.
Welcome to the world stage, and I hope they can keep that going.
I hope so too.
This is very positive for them.
Very.
It looks like I don't know if he's confirmed it, but Kenki Fukuoka plans to go turn to a medical career.
Right.
After his rugby, which is the most Japanese thing ever.
To
return to their studies,
right?
And the business
school,
and because he started as the reserve, and he came in and he dominated that Ireland match, and earned his way into the starting role and played well there too. This is a guy who, I mean, he could play professional rugby. He could keep doing this for a while, but to give that up for a medical career, that's.
Well,
something else.
I don't
an
know
amazing
if he will,
decision.
Especially when you have Tokyo Olympics next year with the sevens. There's the second Olympics. They're going to be around. Japan's going to have a team there. He could easily put his hand up and say, "I want to be on that team."
Absolutely.
So, I don't know if he's going to be switching jerseys for medical coats and scrubs just yet.
We'll see. Not. I mean, it's a lot to there's a lot more opportunities now than there were for him 4 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 2 points that I want to make, and then we'll get moving on from this. Mbanabi came off for injury, but I also wonder if they wanted to use that as an excuse to pull him for marks because it felt like that he was just not getting the job done. Wasn't doing anything special to me.
No.
Malcolm Marks is just he has that X factor that they probably need in a knockout game. I don't care if it's Japan, you still need that. So, and then 2. The one thing that Japan is missing that can get them over the hump and into a semifinal, it's not just one, but one glaring thing is a 10 that can just can make plays. And Tomorrow did not get it done. The fact that he got pulled, kind of says it. Like, and at that point, the Japanese are just trying anything that they can throw at the wall. But
but he was not.
He wasn't special most of the tournament either.
No, he wasn't. And one last thing from me is the decision to only go with a yellow on Beast and to not involve the TMO at all. Just to say, nope, it's a yellow, we're done with it.
Yeah.
I respect the decision and the firmness with which he made it.
He made it quick.
I would have appreciated it if he'd involved the TMO just to make sure, because that looked ugly.
Wasn't pretty.
No, and that's prop on prop, and if you're lifting a
prop
up
prop crime,
right, and if you're doing that to a prop, do you have done something? It's not like I mean he's the Beast. His nickname is the Beast for a reason.
Yeah.
And if it was a scrum half, okay, maybe
he's
you're
dead.
Like that's like not much for him. But a prop, I think at that point he didn't do that completely accidentally. So I thought that was a little.
He's the guy that holds people up in lineouts, and if they go in kickoffs, and if they and manages to when they
hold on to them when they get
fall
backwards, he still holds them up
horizontal. Yeah.
The Beast, 115 caps for that guy.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Great player. I think he got off light and very easy, and that could have changed
the shoulder match. Was the only reason they got away with it. All right, so obviously South Africa move on, and like we said, break the hearts of everybody around the world. But they will face Wales, and that's, again, another one that's going to be a great match for everybody to watch around the world. No spoilers, you jerks. I'm watching that thing on delay.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to, not second-guess myself, but, if Wales get into World Cup final and they win the World Cup, hell will freeze over.
We'll see.
Yeah.
The world will end if Wales wins a World Cup.
It could happen.
It may happen. We'll see. They have some quality
They're
players,
not beating
too.
New Zealand, that's for sure.
They might not have to.
Might not have to, yeah.
No, they might not have to.
Okay. All right. Well, with all that fun, there was still a lot of fun to be had, and that was the opening weekend of the Prem.
Fun light.
Yeah, fun light. So Bristol and Bath got kicked off Friday night, and Bristol shut me right the fuck up.
I think Bristol are contenders this year.
Your thoughts, buddy?
I think Nathan Hughes changes that team, and he brings the dimension that they lacked last year. Of that just bully in space. It was fun as hell to watch him and Mercer compete against each other, even though Mercer was hurt a little bit at first, but got himself sorted out.
Right.
But I mean, what a game by the Bears.
Absolutely.
Just it was again close at the first half, but really Bristol separated themselves in every phase. Separated themselves in every phase of the game from Bath in that second half, and that was the result.
And one note that I want to make before we I don't want to move on from this game too fast, but let's save a little bit of time because we'll talk about both teams when we do start or sit. The Bristolian boy, Owen Lloyd, getting a try on his debut coming on. You got to love that. You just can't hate that. You got to love that. And that crowd went nuts when he got over the line. Right. That was pretty cool.
Because and they were talking him up before the match, saying like at least the Bristol were telling people you got to watch out for this kid. Got to watch out for this kid, and they were right.
Yeah, played brilliantly.
Do you think this will? Well, if Nathan Hughes continues in this form, he'll sort of play himself back into that England setup come Six Nations time.
I was a little shocked that he got left off the team, to be fair, but because he had been like one of Eddie's boys forever. So
not in the past year, though. In the past year, with the emergence of Underhill, Curry, and Wilson, if it's not Vunipola, it's one of those guys. So I don't even know. Oh, and of course there was what's his name? Who was a couple of those shot calls that were,
Lewis Ludlam.
Lewis Ludlam, who actually I think has played pretty damn well.
He has.
He deserves that as well. I thought that was an interesting omission, but I guess you play your rugby at home and you show you can compete. You can get back into the team.
Well, I think he also showed a little bit of again that ability to operate in space. That I don't think he really showed that as much with Wasps.
Definitely
I think he was more their like power guy. We're gonna bash this up with Hughes, whereas Bristol were more like we're gonna spin it around, throw the ball around, and then we're in space.
Pat Lam does that.
Let's give it to Hughes in
for sure.
in the middle of the field or out wide where when there's room for him to operate, and that's really what makes a guy like him so much more effective. So I think that's gonna help him being in a system where he's used to better use his talents rather than just use him as a battering ram.
See Da Young. Yeah, so Bristol take care of business 43-16 against their Derby rivals, and man, that team is not somebody that I would sleep on by any means whatsoever. And then we move on to last year's top of the table finishers come at least into the regular season. Exeter and Quins. This had back and forth a lot. Felt like Quins had control of this game for a long time, and then all of a sudden Exeter decided to seize control. I was like,
sounds familiar.
Yeah, I know, right? not unusual for Exeter, I suppose, but yeah, it definitely felt like that the Quins let this one get away from them. I think they had this for the taking, and they just didn't capitalize on the opportunities they should have. The end of the game, I will say, was a little bit bizarre for me. I don't know. Did you watch it? Did you watch this one at all?
No, I didn't watch the second half.
So Matt Kovesic, they win a penalty, and there's 78 and 30 left on the clock, or that's gone on the clock, and I'm like, why don't you take a penalty, take a minute off the clock, take a penalty, you can give yourself, a try, at least a try lead, and then maybe and dial that back. And Kovesic, I think it was Kovesic that quick tapped it. I was like, dude. Well, and they turned it over. I was like, that's a terrible idea.
Oh, wait, hold on. They quick tapped and turned it over. Gee, sounds fucking familiar.
I don't want to talk
Let's
about that.
not talk about that. But anyway, yeah, so that was a kind of a hammerhead decision on his part. Sam Simmons has seemingly reclaimed that 8 jersey.
Yes,
he looked pretty fucking good. So good on him. Lundaho did all right filling in for Danny Kerr. I was filling out the freaking spreadsheet for the fantasy, and I did it. I freaking was like, wait, Tom Laude, why is he on the Quins? Oh, wait, never mind. He's on the Quins. Yeah. I was like, no, he's on Exeter. I was like, no, he's not. He's on the Quins.
Not no mo.
I couldn't stop myself. Oops. So, yeah. Obviously there was some brilliant plays. Bad decisions in kicking for Quins going into touch on the fall and going out the stuff like that. So that's in the end what probably did him in with a game this tight. So good on the freaking Chiefs for doing what they did. I have to say it says a lot about how much they like Joe Simmons at this point that they didn't bring Steenson on and they just let him go and because they believed he could get the job done, and he did. So
he did.
We talked about it like. He's going to be their guy. Sooner or later, he's going to be their guy because Steenson's just not special.
No,
I think Simmons has a lot more in the basket than Steenson does. So
I still think they could use a little bit better option there. I think still that's a weak point for them.
Well, in terms of the two that they have currently, I'll take Simmons.
Well, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that overall, those two they need to improve on those two.
Yeah, understood. I won't deny you that. So Exeter win 22-19 over the Quins, and let's go on to unfortunate things that happened at Allianz Park.
Yeah,
we get
the whole team is at the World Cup,
right?
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, I can think of one. Let's see, Skelton would be a usual starter. Jackson Ray would usually be a starter or on the bench. Spencer's probably in there. Good. Of the guys that we would get back, I'd say that's it. So we have 4 guys that would be in the team. I can't even say that they would all be starting. That were on the field for Saracens this match, and that were starting in this match.
Right.
So, it's rough. And then you look at across from the Saints, they played a expansive and awesome game.
They did.
To their credit, Henry Taylor comes back and haunts us. God damn it. He played his ass off.
Yeah, but Spencer had a really good game himself.
Yes,
so
it's not like we were spoiled for choice, and that's
absolutely
that was just the thing. Like, he was buried on the depth chart. If it wasn't Wigglesworth, it was Spencer. If it wasn't Spencer, it was Whiteley. So he was third to fourth man down at best. So I can't blame him for moving on. Hutch played as angry as expected,
he does,
because he should have been in Japan. He'd be on his way back now. Maybe he wouldn't be. Who knows if he was there?
Yeah.
I think it does speak a lot for the Saracens about how little McCall trusts the guys that were on the bench, because he left most of them on there. And unfortunately, Kapoku, who I thought would be a guy he would definitely bring on, and instead he brings on Hunter Hill.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, he really doesn't trust.
That was odd.
I thought that was
weird. And TT played all 80.
Yeah,
he was dying at. He gave up. He gave up the last. Was it him? I think he gave up the last penalty.
Yeah.
And that's not fair to put a prop in that position to play a full 80.
And he just traveled
after he just played the World Cup, and it was just traveling.
Yep.
But that also goes to, like you said, that goes to show how little he trusts the reserves.
Yeah, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for the Saracens at this point with all the guys that are away. Maitland will be back next week, so that'll be one guy that they can put back.
That'll
in
be
there.
helpful.
Duncan Taylor will be back next week, I would imagine, as well. So that's somebody they can at least put on the bench, if not start.
Yeah.
It gives them some more options at the very least.
And it's a shame that this is a good opportunity. This is not a good opportunity. This is a great opportunity for a lot of these younger Sarries players, the Lewingtons, Sagan. I thought Sagan played decently within the system.
A couple times.
He had a couple of hiccups. But Lewington, to me, again, he's very much he's very athletic, not the best decision maker.
Needs to make better decisions.
And I'm not liking Goody at 10.
No, I think they can either slide Laws over, or they need to bring in Malins.
Yeah,
that's probably your best option.
Because Goody just he wasn't himself.
Yep.
That showed up in his fantasy score.
He's a better fullback.
Yeah.
Yes,
by far. He's so good in that when he has that room to operate in the space, and that's his sweet spot, and he loses that at 10.
Yep. Notes for the Saints. Excuse me. Tamana Harrison was a late drop, so Wood had to slide to 8, and I believe it was either Coles or Tonks that had to come into the lineup. Both played pretty well for themselves. Alex Moon played pretty well. Dave Ribbons, I've been saying it for the whole since last year. Dave Ribbons is a house. Do not fuck with him. He is so good.
He played his ass off.
Bloody good. So I like him a lot. The Saints played a very good game. So I'm not taking anything away from them whatsoever. Full credit to Chris Boyd and his team. They earmarked this game probably when they first got the schedule and said, "This is a game we can win.
You can sneak up and take it."
Yes,
and they did.
Absolutely, and they did. So full credit to Saints. 27-25 at the Allianz against the Saracens. So good on them, and that puts them right back on this track that they left off on when they ended the regular season last year. So good on them. And you must have been excited about this result. Worcester beating Leicester.
Yeah, and
knowing what I know about you.
Yeah, and
what everybody else out there probably knows about Ben as well.
Worcester finishing.
Yeah, a couple good finishes.
That's a good result for them. Not even just the win, but actually scoring the tries instead of settling for the line breaks and whatnot. with that coming away without the points. They put up the points they needed to put up, and Leicester.
Is the expectation is that Worcester is potentially going to be one of those bottom teams?
Absolutely.
If not the
so
bottom of the barrel.
This is a huge one.
This was a huge win for them, especially, and there's another big loss to open the season for Leicester. Maybe the score line wasn't what it was last year, but the result being the same is not good, especially against the team that they were playing.
This is a team they had a hard time beating last year too. So that speaks a lot to that. So are the bugs still around from Leicester? This is a sign that they still are. Right. Just kind of heads up.
I mean, it also doesn't help that they're only good players. I shouldn't say they're only good players.
Most of
their decent players are in Japan.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
They when you're stuck with the Callum Greens and Guy Thompsons, and then everyone else is who the fuck are they?
Yeah, Liebenberg's not bad, but there's some guys here that probably wouldn't be in the lineup if it wasn't for the fact that this is a World Cup.
Well, but the bigger problem is that there's guys who are going to be in the lineup even when those guys are back, and that's going to be troubling for them in the long run.
Right. I was really. Remember when we were talking about the issues with England and their back rows and what they didn't have for them? Ted Hill played himself a hell of a game here, and we just talked about a couple others in the Bath Bristol game, and even in the Saracens game, guys like Ben Earl stepped up. I don't think that problem exists anymore. Certainly not at the flank.
And then also, I mean, we haven't got to them yet, and I've sadly forgotten about the poor guy because he definitely was going to be on that plane. But Brad Shields came over to England just because he wanted to go to the World Cup.
Yep, and injuries kind of buggered that one.
Yeah,
and he went to the wrong team for that too. So
to Wasps, but well, maybe you never know if something happens to an English second row. I mean, flanker or something. Maybe they'll put him on a plane.
They'll put him on the plane.
Yeah,
we'll see. But Worcester take care of it, 24-16, and good on them. This is a good start to them to at least challenge to make sure that they're not it's not such a cakewalk for them to get relegated.
Yeah, it's not either them or London Irish, or maybe Leicester.
Right. Well,
we'll see.
Leicester's my dark horse.
To go down. Good on them.
Especially with the result we're going to talk about 2 games from now.
Yep, absolutely. Did you watch the Sale Gloucester game?
I looked at the result and said, "Fuck that! I'm not watching that game."
Dude, so really we can talk about the one thing. And listen, I think Sale played a pretty darn good game. They let Gloucester back in. It's it pretty much as you can see it right here. Especially if you look at kind of the flow that we have here, a lot of Sale lost Sale, then Gloucester storming back. The end of the game, Sale got a penalty, and Robert Dupree knocked it off the post.
Oh.
And Gloucester was able to gather it and kick it out.
Would it be fair to say that Sale is essentially like South Africa?
We talked about that.
Yeah. That for some reason
they're the Sale Sharks.
Yeah. No, we played for some Sharks, but now we play for these ones in the north of England, right? They decided they want to go up to. I think they're in Salford, just outside of Manchester,
right?
Which is a dark place, and apply their trade. But I think that's going to make Sale, especially when Tom Curry comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they got a couple of South Africans playing for him.
Exactly.
They do. So
I think they're going to be competitors.
They'll be formidable.
Yeah. Definitely.
They won't be somebody to sleep on by any means.
I think it's about time that another team, sorry, Sarries fans over here, but comes in and challenges for the title. But
I think. I think there's I don't see any reason why Gloucester can't be that team. I don't see any reason at this point why Bristol can't be that team. I think I'm a little biased on this one, but I think if any team here is looking at, any team at the top of the table from last year should be looking very closely at their rearview mirror. It's Exeter.
Yeah. Because
Saracens can play any style, whereas Exeter really are limited to their keep it in the forwards, crash it. They don't really have the backs. Well, maybe they will when the World Cup is over.
When Noel gets back, that's about the best thing they got.
But still,
Slade's also very good, yes.
Yeah, Slade and Noel are going to help them considerably. But they didn't really – I don't think they were terribly impact players. Well, Noel was hurt last year.
Yeah, that final.
And that'll change things. But I'm really interested in seeing what Hagi brings to the table there.
Right.
I think of any of the teams, though, the fact that Bristol can now operate in space and in tight, and Worcester, if they've put stuff together, and then Gloucester and Sale. There's a lot of competition there.
There won't be any easy games this year in this competition. I think the gaps that we saw both at the bottom and the top will be gone. This is going to be tooth and nail.
I think you're going to see
12 to 1.
I think it's more like 1 to 9, but
either way,
either way, that's 9 is.
But even the gap between 9 and 10 isn't going to be nearly as big as we saw for the bottom teams last year.
No.
Couple points that I want to make, and then we'll move on here. Akavana Merva played very well in his debut for the Sale Sharks. Offloaded one to get, I think it was Byron McGuigan that got over, and another guy that probably should have been in Japan, but good on him. The Dupree brothers all played pretty well for themselves. JL Dupree playing in the second row really kind of made me raise an eyebrow here and there, but if that's where he's going to play, that's not a bad idea.
Nope. Very
dynamic as if he's going to play second row. And I thought the Gloucestermen played pretty well come second half. They had to have a rocket shoved up their butt, but it did come through. They were able to stifle thoroughly, but they forgot about Marshall and Woodward. So
yeah.
And Atkinson does as he kept doing since last year, which is just follow somebody that's going to make a line break and then gather the ball for himself for a try. So.
And Billy Twelvetree is also just a consistent rock.
He's always been a rock for that team for a long time. Yep.
Whether it's that long, luscious locks of his, or just he's such a posh boy. It's crazy to think that he was a Lion at one point. He went on the Lions tour to Australia.
Right.
But yeah. Gloucester, I think, are building on their last year.
Absolutely.
And going to be good.
Yep. 18-16, Gloucester taken home after an unfortunate miss kick from Robert Dupree that could have won Sale the game. So Gloucester run away with 4 points happily. And then the Sunday game, Wasps and London Irish. Man, this was a damn good game.
It was.
Full credit to both teams, really. But man,
the Irish staked out a lead that Wasps just couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the firepower to come back from.
Right. Blair Cowan, I don't remember him playing to this level when he was last in the Premiership. Do you? I know he played for the series for a hot minute.
Don't look at me.
But I know he played for the series for a hot minute, and he did okay, but that's because we were banged up like holy hell. But I don't remember him playing to this level. He played unbelievable.
Oh, easy shift, casual 22 tackles, no big deal.
Yeah. And we just talked about young back rows. Jack Willis, oh my goodness, this kid! I don't know how many pilfers he had, but don't get tackled near him because he was taking everything. He was literally taking everything or winning pens.
He won 5 turnovers.
Yeah, and how many pens did he win? It would be the next question. I would want to know because he definitely won at least 3 or 4 of those.
That doesn't say.
Oh man, he. Don't get tackled near him. It's too bad that he had to have the injury that he had because I have no doubt about it. If he was playing at this level, he'd be on that plane. He'd be in Japan right now. And and that's not a knock on any of the guys that are there. He'd be in there because it'd be really hard to get him away because he's such a fetcher right now. And you need to have at least one that you can call on, even if you have to throw him on off the bench. You have to have that. And he was taking everything away. He needed one more, but he didn't get it. But it was a goal line stand by Irish that got him over the line and got them the win. But I thought there was some good stuff in this game. Kibarigi played out of his mind, which I knew he would because he was so good at Newcastle. He was just buried in the depth chart. Again, he had a lot of guys in front of him that it was just really unfortunate. I thought he played spectacularly. Obviously, he got two over the line, but probably should have had a third, if not for what could have been argued as an intentional knock, maybe a penalty try. Not for me to decide. I don't question J.P. Doyle. So
I was confused, though, towards the end with the Irish being a man up, and they're the ones who are wasting time at the scrum. I was even the referee was like, "Hey, they're the ones who are
right.
who are wasting our time here. If they want to, I understand if Wasps were trying to fuck with the scrum, but it's not them, it's the Irish, and then they settled for a penalty kick instead of continuing on the pressure with the man up. Just some odd decisions on their part, but it didn't change the outcome.
Right.
But it could have.
Yeah. It was good to see Dan Robson back in form because he obviously had that scare at the end of last year, and I'm glad he's back. He's firing. He looks like he's happily playing rugby again. I think he's got a new perspective on life after that little hiccup too. So good on him. He who should not be named in this match played like poop.
PJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, he played like absolute crap. It was weird to see Nizam Carr without a scrum cap. I will say that.
Yeah.
It was really weird. I was like, is that Carr?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Well, I mean,
where's the scrum cap?
He's pretty easy to spot.
Now he's got the shininess there.
Yeah.
That'll do it. You know a thing about that one there, bud.
Yeah, I do. But I was just thinking just his general size. It's like, oh, there's Carr. He's in.
He is a unit too. Yes, I'll give you that one. Jacob Umaga stepped in at 10. Tana's nephew. I was like, well, there's worse bloodlines that you can be from.
Yeah.
But
we were talking earlier before we went live, but also crazy. I didn't know Curtis Rona signed for London Irish. And
one of the many.
Sean O'Brien is going to be joining them once he gets fighting fit again.
Yep.
So there's some pretty. Waisaki Naholo is going to play for them.
Yeah.
Nick Phipps.
Yep.
Mafi, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they want
like,
Phipps sooner than later because Steele hurt his hand in this game and had to come off. Although his replacement, Meehan, Adam Coleman's coming over.
Holy crap!
Yep.
So there's quite,
they're not a team you can sleep on now.
No, definitely not.
This is sort of a team of mercenaries now.
Oh yeah,
a little bit.
It looks like a sort of a barbarian second team.
I mean, that was our question going into the season: is how quickly those guys can gel, and if they can gel quickly, then they could cause some damage. People are picking the Irish to be relegated just because they're new and maybe they don't belong.
Guys, but that doesn't necessarily mean shit.
That doesn't mean shit.
No.
If anybody, look at the other team that was across the way from them too.
Yeah.
To me, Wasps have a lot of questions. They're not missing much from the World Cup.
Right.
So, if this is what they got, it's going to be a fucking long season at the Rico.
It will be. So two things that I wanted to just note for Wasps. There's two guys that they've been trying to find the answer to, certainly one since last year. I think they have the answers. LaRue is gone. Obviously, the guy that pretends he's playing in the NFL now is also gone. I think they have it. Christian White.
Oh, God.
I think Marcus Watson and Zach Kabarigi have answered all their problems in terms of that.
Yes.
So they can probably sign that up, and then they can bring some. They have Ross Neal and the likes. Josh Bassett's obviously a solid winger, but I think they have their answers at those two positions for a long time.
Speaking of rugby players that want to try and break into the NFL, I just read that Valentine Holmes, who was a huge NRL star, he is probably going to come back to the NRL. He was signed with the Jets and was on the practice squad.
That was his first problem right there.
Yeah. Through that international program that they have that Christian Wade did. And surprise, he's probably coming back. It needs to stop. This whole rugby player thinks they can get into the NFL. It's unfortunate, but it's not going to happen,
I think it's something that goes over people's head over in England. Like, if the NFL wasn't holding spots for guys like that, Christian Wade would have been whacked. Not just like they have a spot for that on their practice squad. He would have been whacked a long time ago. So
he wouldn't have made it after the first week of training camp.
Something to that effect.
I mean, he had that fluke touchdown,
but
nobody was even close to him because they don't know how to play defense.
Yeah.
It's such a different sport, and the questions that are asked of players in the NFL is so different than what's in rugby.
Right. We talked about it with Tig, leader.
It's so much less like it's not. Here's the structure in which you play, and I'll go do it. It's this is what you're doing on this play.
On this exact
and if
play,
you don't do this,
what you're doing.
Then if
you're not doing this, you're doing this. That's it. There's no fluidity to it whatsoever.
No.
It's very rigid.
And it's a big even changing sports is a big ask, but to then change the whole style of it. It's just not a good idea. If you're good at rugby, stick with rugby.
Yeah, please.
Such a better sport anyway.
No argument out of me, man. We'll save time by skipping over that. Let's do heart. Yeah, you can tell my brain's fried. Let's do starter sit for the upcoming World Cup matches, and then we'll go to pick them. So you're up there, big guy. England, New Zealand. These are the two best defensive fantasy teams in the tournament. They're I think they're 2 and 3. I can't recall who won is off the top of my head. I'll double check. Keep going.
As far as giving up total points, New Zealand, they give up their points in the centers. They stifle fullbacks and fly half. Ireland's locks put up points against them in the quarterfinals, so that's something to watch out for. England, they're kind of leaky at fly half prop in the back three. They don't give up points to centers, hookers, or back row, especially eights. So my starts when you're looking to do this match, Aaron Smith, Richie Mwonga, Bridge, Bowden, and Reese. Play Sevilla and Reed. They're both matchup proof and pretty much unsittable right now. For England, Curry and Underhill. Jamie George is matchup proof, and because of what Ireland did, I would say Itoje and Laws are start worthy. For sits, Coles and Taylor for New Zealand, Retallick, Goodhue, and maybe Stowe, Leonard Brown on your bench.
Right.
For England, Faz, I hate to say it, he's somebody you should probably sit.
Yeah.
And as much as I think, I'm losing him. Tuolagi.
Yeah.
He may have a good day. I'm still saying sit him.
Yeah, well, we talked about it. He's super inconsistent, so maybe this is the one time that he hits, and the last time he hit was Tonga.
Right, and absolutely daily. Do not fucking daily.
Stay away from him. New Zealand is 2, England is 3.
There it is.
So there you go. So yeah, still top 3.
Right,
2 top 3 teams. Right, the Welsh and the South Africans. So first for the Welsh. The big one, I went by the big names that were fairly highly percentage owned. Tom Francis is not a prop you want to start. Hadley Parks and should not be in there. Davies, if he plays, okay. He's nearly matchup proof. That's fine.
Which Davies?
Sorry.
Which Davies? Which Jones? Which Adams?
No shit.
Fucking all of Wales.
Jonathan Davies, the center. Sorry. Tipperick, the back rows are probably actually okay to play. So Tipperick and Moriarty, especially Wainwright, if you have him, he's not super highly owned, but if you have him, go for it. The big name that you probably want to sit is Alan Wynn and Ken Owens. Definitely, they're going to cause you saw what happened with the Japanese. Bad news at line out time, which is where most of these guys make their points. No bueno. Of the wings, Adams is almost matchup proof. Obviously, didn't perform super well this one, but if you're going to start one or the other, start Adams. Don't start North. Any names I missed? Bigger is actually a fly half you could probably feel okay about starting. There's nobody you're going to feel amazing about starting in at this point. Bigger's probably one that you can feel pretty good about. The 2 times he's finished, he scored like 24 plus. So, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for at least that. You'll get a 53 in there somewhere, I promise. It's probably not going to be him, but he's still startable by all means. And Sanjay Willis, Liam Williams, stay away. Stay away. For the box, there's some goods and there's some bads. If there's a lock that I'm going to start, it's Lou Diaga. He's been on fire. But actually, the Welsh are almost equally as much of a pain in the ass at starting at line-out time and second rows especially. Their back rows are actually doing well against the Welsh. So Khaleesi and Dutoit not so much, but Vermeulen if you feel very very much like you need to start him, go ahead. Khaleesi just seems to be catching fire lately anyway. Don't start Marks or Bungie. Nope. I hate to say it, but of the back 3 that seems to be catching everything that he's supposed to catch, Mac Mapimpi's been much better than Colby and I mean LaRue. If LaRue's in your team, you just quit because you're dumb. Sorry.
You're gonna pick one of Mapimpi and Colby, and you're gonna pick wrong. So just realize that that's what's gonna happen.
Yep. Yeah. So like I said, of any the only lock to start is Diaga. Don't start at any of the props. That includes the Beast, who's highly owned, which is weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Andre Pollard, if you're stuck. Okay.
Well, 10s are at a premium this
right. Yeah, if you're kind of like, all right, I've made all the transfers I can make, and the best 10 that I have left is Pollard or...
Well, there's unlimited transfers right now. So.
Is it unlimited now?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 5.
No, it's
okay.
unlimited.
Well, even better. Anyway, maybe you've hit your quota on players. Faf, set.
Yes.
Despite the fact that the Welsh aren't that good. Okay, and then let's roll through these real fast. Friday night, you got the first match of the week for the Prem.
I do. Yay. Bath versus Exeter. Starts for Bath. Lauday went for 27 against Exeter, so go with Mercer. The Quins locks did well too, so go Stuke and Ewells. Probably good options. Exeter, Sam Simmons and Makavesic, and as always, Jack Yandel. Sits for basically the backs. Bath, most of their back lines. Not sure how much action they're going to get against Exeter. And then for Exeter, their centers, Hendrickson and Witten. Devoto, if he's playing, I would sit all of them.
Yeah, there you go. All right. And hold on one second. All right. Yeah, why did I do that? I'm an idiot. Anyway, so for the Saints, we got Saints and Worcester. So I mean, Worcester is going to be pretty easy. The guys like Ted Hill, I would definitely rock him. Hugard had a great game. Weir didn't have a good game, but I'd still go ahead and play him if he's your guy. Marco Mama played pretty well, so I'd go ahead and do that. That's the only flanker. Those are the only two flankers I'd go. GJ, Van Velze, and Dupree haven't been that good. Nanai, he had a bad start, but I'd still go ahead and play him. Mills is so bloody cheap; it's hard to ignore him.
Yeah.
So I would play him as well, and then make your choice of either Pennell or Humphreys. One of them should be okay if you need a Worcester player, so that's not a bad idea. Anyway, for the Saints, it's going to be pretty easy. Nair Avoro. Waller don't start either at all, and actually don't start the Saints front row if you're playing FRD. Hutch is a yes and a yes. Dave Ribbons is a yes and a yes, and so is Tom Collins, because he's, again, we talked about it, like, he doesn't always do great, but he's too damn cheap to just drop, so got to do with it.
London Irish versus Sale. For the starts, the Irish locks Knott and Botha, and then Rona in the centers. For Sale, Wasp's back row did well, so look for Sale's back row to have a day. You've got, I'm sure, 2 or 3 on your roster. Those should be on your team. For the sits, sit Voldemort, because Sale locked down Cipriani last week. I think they could probably do the same to this douche.
You guys are just bringing zero attention to him. No, I'm serious. No. I mean, I appreciate it. The guy's kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He?
Yeah. And then for sits, the centers. The Irish stopped better, in my opinion, better centers for the Wasps than what Sale are bringing. So I would assume that they would do the same.
Likely, yeah. Won't argue with that. Gloucester and Wasp, the aforementioned Wasp. There's a couple guys that you just can't even bother to sit. Sips, Woodward, Thorley. Definitely got to go. Basically, any lock with a pulse in FRD is viable. So if somebody's starting, go ahead. Slater might be one of the better ones. Just FYI, but definitely TRM start Slater.
Locks, whatever you get from locks are
you're just gonna be. You're gonna have to be happy. 12 Trees is probably a no in TRM, but a yes in FRD because there's so little choice.
And the kicker.
And that adds value to him. And Ruan Ackerman is the word I was looking for. Goddamn, too many fucking South Africans that cross me up here. Ruan Ackerman, definitely play him. And really, if Peledri's back, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, definitely.
Definitely.
For the Wasps, Feki Toa didn't have a good start, but he'll come good, especially playing next to Sopoaga, so that'll be good. Sopoaga is a yes in both formats, especially FRD. Robson, yes in both. Watson and Kibrigi, yes. Jack Willis, go get him. That's a big one that I've got. He's not in a lot of leagues. Like, I checked both our leagues, available. So go get him.
Yum.
By the way, where the hell's my dollar?
I owe it.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I have a dollar bill on me. Unfortunately, I do not.
Yeah. Hooray. Gaskell, again, lock with a pulse in FRD, yes. If you can get away from in TRM, do it.
Quins versus the Bursts. For the Quins, start. I mean, you know the guys. Dom Brandt, Marcus Smith should have a good day. Danny Kerr should play in this one, so I'd give him a look. Basically, start their bigger fantasy names. You should do all right.
Yep.
For Bristol, I think at this point Nathan Hughes is going to be a starter until he shows otherwise.
Yeah.
Thacker, obviously, same thing. Even though he had kind of a down week, but that's a down week for him.
A down week for him is pretty good for most players.
Right. So still start him.
Yep.
John Afoa, since the Quins props are over in Japan. He should have a good point. Good day. That's actually Prothero and Morahan should roll their success from week 1 into week 2.
Morahan's solid back.
And
he looked pretty good.
For sits, the aforementioned Harlequins front row, don't touch them in either format, and the Bristol centers.
Yeah, good call. All right, and then our boys playing your most hated rivals on Sunday. And I'm sure you're gonna enjoy watching this one.
Yes, I will.
or have a heart attack. I'm not sure which one.
No, probably the front.
So for Leicester, Guy Thompson is hard to sit in both formats, so you probably want to roll him up there. Callan Green is probably worthy of a start in TRM, and again, any lock with a pulse that's decent is worth your time in FRD. Bateman, I would stay away from, as well as the Leicester front row, even though he's highly owned. I don't understand that. Oluwafela is somebody if you're stuck in FRD, but if you do not, if you have him, but you have other options in TRM, please don't play him. Saracens usually are pretty good against back three anyway. For the series, good. Hopefully he returns back to fullback. And especially if he does, he's a yes, but I'd still play him either way. Laws is a no in TRM, but a yes in FRD because he's actually still pretty good, especially for the midfielders that are available right now.
Right.
Skelts, same rules as with all locks, but definitely play him in TRM. Tompkins, definitely in both formats. He played amazing in both. He scored very well in both formats, and so did Ben Spencer. So go ahead and roll that guy out there.
I have a disagreement with you on some of this.
What's that? Which
is, for me, Guy Thompson is going to be my sit of the week.
That's fine. Well, I disagree with you. Don Armour last week, he ended up playing.
Yeah.
I was the kiss of death, I suppose. No, I don't. Hey, that's your sit of the week, not mine.
Yeah.
That's okay.
For the record, my starts of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just throw them out there because I did them now. My World Cup start is Aaron Smith.
Okay.
My World Cup sit is Liam Williams. So
hey, there you go.
Agree on that.
Yeah, we talked about that.
My Premiership start of the week will be Sam Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
After Hughes rolled back. I think Simmons, with his speed, is going to do much worse. And then Guy Thompson, because Sarries just give up nothing to 8 men.
Right. Yeah, or even just back rows for the most part in general. So my start is definitely going to be Ben Earl. Assuming he plays, and there's no reason I don't think he has a reason not to. You look at what Ted Hill did against Leicester, and I don't see a reason why that he can't repeat it. So definitely play him. And then same game. I don't understand why he's so highly owned. Greg Bateman, sit him and sit the fucking Leicester front row. Like, what is wrong with you people? For my World Cup, I would say Lou Diager, start of the week. I talked him up already for the South Africans. And then same position, same game, big guy, Alan Wynne-Jones. Sit him. I'm not saying he's not going to perform well for his team, but I just don't think it's the points won't be there. You saw what they did to the Japanese, and twofold that, and it's just going to end poorly for everybody. All right, let's go to pick 'em, and then we can GTFO, lads. I know James is itching to get out of here because he wants to go watch the Patriots game.
Listen, it's the only time I like American football.
Fair enough. Okay, first semifinal, the big one. England, New Zealand. Is this Sam Underhill's revenge, or is this the same story, different chapter here?
It is England's time to shine.
Yeah.
It is. Eddie Jones is got them to this point. He is just he will just mentally tear you down.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be close, but I think England are going to take it.
I agree with James. I think this match is why they have Eddie Jones as their coach right now. And I think that as much as it's been made about his selections and who he brought with him, I feel like England can play any style they need to, and they'll find a way. So can New Zealand. This is going to be a fantastic match.
Agreed.
I don't think it's going to turn out the way New Zealand Ireland did, just because England can play in a wide open match and still maintain their defensive structure. So. I think England's going to win it in the squeaker.
I don't know if the world wants to see New Zealand win a third World Cup in a row.
There's a lot of people that probably don't.
Yeah, nobody really wants to see it.
And I'm with the boys here. I'm take England. I think they have the thumpers that can put the All Blacks on their butts, and they just gotta, as long as they keep their heads on a swivel for those fucking offloads, they'll be good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other one, South Africa and Wales. Ben, are you going to stick with your pre-World Cup prediction?
I'm sticking with it. I'm going with South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I think Wales barely made it out of France, and South Africa have peaked at the right time. They've gotten back to South African physical rugby, and yeah, and I think this is the reemergence of South Africa. I think they've got a great captain, and Rassie Erasmus is an incredible coach.
Yeah, he seems it.
So the Boks are going back to the World Cup final.
I would pick Wales if it wasn't for Warren Gatland. That's the only thing that's turning me off.
This would be the great way to send him off with a
loss. Okay, so we're gonna have.
He's got the Lions, so whatever.
Yeah, he'll have the Lions afterwards. So we'll have a repeat of 2007. It looks like if the boys and I are right here. Okay, let's go to the Prem. Friday night, Bath and Exeter. Bath back home, and I don't think it's going to do them a whole lot of good. I don't see why Exeter don't steamroll them in their typical Exeter fashion, especially with the fact that they've all of a sudden found guys like Kirsten and Vermeulen to fill in those jerseys as quote-unquote backups. I was like, yeah, that's a terrifying thought. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Me as well.
Yeah, a little bit of West Country battle there in the west of England, but the Exeter men are gonna take it.
Right. These guys were kind of my boys last year, as apart from the Saracens, and they haven't turned me off from them other than the fact that they beat us. But I can't hate them for that because they played an amazing game. Saints Worcester. I'm gonna go with the Saints.
I'm gonna go with they have a little bit of a letdown.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And go with Worcester.
Worcester show some teeth and say we ain't going down that easily.
Who is home for this game?
Saints. Northampton. They're at Franklin's Gardens.
Northampton will have it then.
Yeah, that was the other factor for me.
That's a factor.
Northampton Saints at the Gardens are a tough ask. And the London Irish in their first home game since coming back up. At
the wonderful Majeski Stadium in Reading, which is about an hour
too far out of London to be called the London team.
London, yes.
But just the same, I'm going to go with the Exiles.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to flip a freaking coin on this one. I'll go with Sale.
Sale did play a damn good match and probably deserved to win that apart from Robert Dupree's kick.
Yeah, and I have to also factor in the fact that the Irish are playing Wasps, who I don't have a lot of respect for right now.
Mm-hmm, fair enough.
I'm going to say South Africa
Sale
2.0. Yeah. Or right. South Africa B-side. That's what they're
there you go. Beta. So Gloucester and Wasp, Ben, don't even speak. I know who you're picking.
Gloucester it is.
I'm going to take Gloucester as well. Yep.
We are aligned.
Hard to argue with that. Quins and Bristol. Quins in their first match back at the Stoop. I cannot take Bristol. I can't help it. Also, I don't like the Quins that much. So, despite the fact that Guzzy's there, I do like Guzzy, but there's some things that the Quins do I don't like.
I have a little bear in my pants. There's nothing I can do about it this year. I love that team.
I couldn't tell even if you stood up, big guy. Sorry.
I think Harlequins are going to pull this one off.
Quins pull it off?
Yeah. I think they're setting up for a decent season.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to be they're back in Europe. They're going to have a good season. I just 2 losses in a row sucks, but it's not something that they can't bounce back from. So I think they'll be okay.
I think Bristol's front row are going to have a good advantage there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you're not arguing on me, although I do like Scott Baldwin. Leicester Saracens.
We all know where we're going with this.
Yeah. I think so too. Yeah. Saracens are going to be pissed. Leicester are still Leicester, and their lineup's not going to change all that much from last week to this coming week.
Yeah.
So sorry to say that.
And Sarries need this, which.
Yeah, Mark McCall is going to read them the riot act, and they'll rock up for this one. Okay, well, we got a lot talked about. Thanks for bearing with us, guys, and make sure that you're checking out us on Twitter. Ben and I will be happy to answer questions, obviously, about FRD lineups and TRM. I'm going to try and put some stuff out tomorrow morning here, which should be enough time for people to go fetch FRD free agents. And Ben and I will we've talked about the good buys that are out there. There's so many good buys for TRM, so make sure you grab them. Again, check your Rugby Mag upgrades. It's worth it just for the lineups. Just the lineups, I swear to God. But you get all kinds of other cool stuff. FantasyRugbyPodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play. James, thanks for coming along, buddy.
Yeah,
we always love having you
Great
over here.
Arigato gozaimasu.
All right. Thank you guys, everybody. Have a good one. We'll talk to you guys next week. Cheers.
Later.